should always begin with the African worldview, with the African asili, as it were, the asili, the cultural seed, the essence of the culture. Because that is our grounding. That is our frame of reference. And without an understanding of the African worldview, we really cannot critique European thought and European behavior effectively. We need that foundation that comes from outside of the European worldview. We cannot critique European thought and behavior functioning within their framework. We have to come outside of it. And for us, what comes from our nature is our understanding of the world, the way in which we relate to the world, and the seed from which our culture develops. And so here we have a spiral which brings continuity with it, which takes us through various forms and principles and helps to explain how I've understood the African asili. Look at that. Try to understand it, get into it, feel it, because it is that that will help you, indeed, to understand the text. The next one is the African worldview, which is, you get a feeling of these various shapes and circles which relate to each other, which fit into a whole. And if you read them with rhythm at the center, they will, again, help to bring forth a particular feeling. To the right, on that same page, you have the European worldview and Utamawazo, which we will talk about in a moment. The Utamawazo, the thought, and you see it listed in a lineal fashion without the shapes that we have in the African worldview. And so you'll get some of the themes of that worldview and Utamawazo. Study that as well. They are put side by side so you can begin to contrast, because that's what much of this discussion will be about. Without the contrast, it's not going to make as much sense. And I think that people try to read the text without having a sense of African spirituality and African spiritual thought. Very quickly, we go through the next ones. Well, if you lettered them, so far we've done A and B. C should be the conceptual model that is used in the book. D is making it specific to European culture. E, again, is talking about the nature of the European asili, European cultural thought and behavior. That's E for everybody. Everybody has that. And then F is something about knowledge. How we gain knowledge. What is knowledge? What is truth? The levels of knowledge. On the left, we have terms that come from the Dogon people. And I'll be using them to refer to. You see an African process of knowledge, which takes you from one level to another. And then finally, European method, which is much more rigid, which only takes you to the level of jiri so. Now, you'll be able to tell me what jiri so is shortly, soon, and forever, right? Because we'll be using these terms. And then G is just some simplistically put contrasts between the African and European approaches to reality and ways of knowing. Again, this is all reinforcement, but that helping you to get used to what we'll be talking about, the terminology, and giving you a frame of reference. And then finally, H should be the European asili. And here you will see the source, the life force, and then you see a void and an alienation from that source and life force and the universe as a whole. And then there is, I guess, a square, something like that.